Hi, my name is Natasha Odhiambo,
And I'm Darlene.
and on this episode of the podcast, we'll be talking about defenses, which are compulsion, necessity, and provocation. So we'll start with provocation. Provocation is any wrongful act or insult that, when done to an ordinary person or in their presence, a person who they have a special relationship with, special is used by the law here, will cause them to lose all self-control and to induce them to commit a crime or an assault. So, judging from the definition, you can definitely tell that this is mostly a defense for murder. And okay, in the case of Twaley v. the Republic, it was the court held that basically, like, any person that's like pushed to that point where they're like extremely angry, like in the heat of the passion, will continue to will act unreasonably without self control up until they cool down. So in provocation basically the laws determining it as a defense is it's mostly in it's local laws that determine it, not the common law system as for many other defenses. So sorry, provocation is dealt with in section 205 and 26 of the penal code, and basically throughout East Africa it's not like common law like other defenses. Basically it's a matter of local legislation to decide how much water it holds as a defense. And it's not an absolute defense, meaning that you cannot completely get acquitted for the murder charge when you cite provocation as a sorry as a pardon what in the word as a defense, while you can only reduce the charge from murder to manslaughter. Okay, so the ingredients of provocation, according to section 207 and section 208 of the Penal Code, basically is that killing is done in the heat of passion. It has to be caused by provocation of a certain kind, and there has to be no time for the passion of the accused to cool, basically. Because, okay, let me give an example of I commit a crime today, and let me give the example of for the heat of the passion. The main cases we happen to see in case law are cases where there's a lover and there's adultery. So basically, let's say like in a marriage with a man and I'm having an affair with someone on the side. Basically, if my husband knew about the affair and was plotting to catch us like together, then kills one of us, he cannot cite provocation as a defense because it was premeditated. He had plotted and waited to catch us in that moment for him to kill one of us. Whereas, like in some cases, provocation doesn't necessarily have to happen then. For example, in a case where the mother thought that the house manager had poisoned her children and therefore hit and killed the house manager. Here, the court accepted provocation as a defense because the mother went with reasonable belief. Like, she gave my children this medicine and the medicine killed them. Like both of them, both who took the medicine died, while the one who didn't take the medicine survived. Therefore, the court accepted provocation as a defense here because the mother had reasonable grounds to believe that the child was poisoned. Yeah. So we've already discussed that. Then the provocative act must consist of something wrongful. Like for example, you can't kill your landlord because they came to ask you for overdue rent and then you cite provocation as a defense. You see, it doesn't make sense because it's within their right to it's within their right to sorry it's within their right to it's it's within their legal right to ask for rent. Therefore, you really can't cite provocation as a defense when you're killing. Whereas, let's say where the police are like they don't have a warrant to come search your house and they come search your house unlawfully, basically going on what is known as a fishing expedition, just like looking for maybe they suspect you of a crime, don't know what the crime is, just come to your house without a warrant and start searching the premises. In the event you happen to commit murder in the process of self-defense, which is another defense which has been spoken about, you have grounds to claim provocation because it was unlawful. Yeah. So a few more things about the provocation as a defense is the response must be proportional to the provocation. Like, you can't kill me because I called you stupid. That's not okay. Not that okay, let me substitute a crime with a lesser crime here. When I call you stupid, like the appropriate thing would be to slap me or to like sucker punch me, not to pick a knife and stab me. Whereas in cases where like let's say you catch your partner having an adulterous affair and in the heat of the moment you just pick something that's near you, say a lamp, and you bash someone and you end up killing them. You see there it's like it's somewhat reasonable because you're like in the heat of the moment, the passion of the crime. Yeah. So basically, there's also witchcraft, where in like that's also a heavy matter being tackled in today's case law. Like you cite provocation because let's say someone called you a witch or someone accused you of performing witchcraft on them, you kill them, and then you cite provocation as a defense. Basically, that's okay. You know, in Africa, calling someone a witch is a really big thing as compared to the Western because Africans they take witchcraft really seriously. We've seen that from like witch hunts and the way they like ban witches in a circle. Yeah, so basically, it can only be termed as witchcraft if the causing death was done in front of the accused one, and two, the act being done, anyone from that community believes that the act being done is witchcraft. Yeah, like let's say, okay, how like serving. Okay, I don't really have a proper example for that, but I'm hoping you understand. Okay, so refusal of sexual intercourse also does not constitute provocation, and provocation is mainly cited here as a defense in married couples because, unfortunately, some spouses believe that because you're bound by marriage, you can kill some. You're entitled to sexual intercourse whenever, wherever you want it, and you may kill someone as a provocation. So you may kill someone simply because they refuse. So the court does not accept that as a it does not accept that as a defense because yeah, it does not constitute. Then yeah, so the burden of proof for defense is that the facts need to be proven only by reasonable probability and not strictly, meaning it's a bit I'd say less as compared to other crimes where you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah, that's it all. So that's what all we have on provocation, and now Darlene will take over with compulsion and necessity.
Right. So I will start with necessity, which basically it consists of the accused being confronted with two evils, right? And there has to be reasonable belief that the act or omission committed by the accused was done to avert a greater harm, like performing an abortion, which is illegal in Kenya, to save a mother's life, right?
Yeah.
So so we've seen that it should be done with the intention to avoid greater harm. Like you're basically stuck between the. So
and you have to substitute the greater evil for the lesser one.
Yeah, it's like destruction of broken a door or something to get someone out of a burning room or something like that. It's not a very strong example, but
yeah.
Right? So so the defense is the defense of necessity is a basis for defenses such as compulsion and self-defense, and we've seen that these defenses, the ones for compulsion, necessity, self-defense, the burden of proof falls on. It shifts from the prosecution, right, to the defense, to the defendant, to the accused, because now you have to prove this was necessary. I needed to break this. I needed to destroy this property to save this person, right? So it's not particular, necessity isn't particularly provided for in the penal code, but the closest provision for this defense is found in section 240 of the penal code. So now with this example of a case, in the case of the Republic versus Bond, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. So basically, this was a doctor that performed an abortion, where it was a choice between saving the mom and saving the child, right? So this mom was a 14-year-old. She'd been raped by a soldier. And having this child with detrimental to her mental and physical, not fully developed
She's not at the age of having a baby.
she's not at that age, right? And this doctor was brought to court before the court because of performing an abortion, which was illegal, right? And the court failed to prove that he wasn't acting in good faith because it was either the mom or the baby. It was either. So he chose the mom because you have an unborn child and then you have a mom, right? And so the necessity provides for cases like that, and performing surgical procedures for the benefit of someone else, like or an unborn child for the benefit of the mother, and an unqualified person giving help to someone who is in need of surgical, right? A surgical procedure, and of course the unqualified. That's very heavy matter. Of course, you're going to be taken but you're a surgeon and then you're not a surgeon and then you come and cut me up. But if this person had reasonable belief that this other person was in dire need, like they were gonna die, in dire need of this surgical procedure, and they took out a knife and cut them up, even if they'd never been to med school a day in their life, it's a defense. It's a good defense. But no necessity doesn't justify something. So you can be like, oh, since I killed someone versus Darlene and Stephen, right? And we've already talked about the burden of proof shifting from the prosecution to the defense. It's also it also doesn't provide for, we've actually talked about that. Like basically murder, it provides for destruction of property and all that. Like it just has to be done for the greater good, right? Picking the lesser evil. It also acts as a mitigating factor. This was seen in the case of the Republic versus Rafael Madeja. It was Madeja, right? This guy basically broke traffic rules. It's not that big of a deal, but it was, right? So he carried a huge number of passengers, like he overloaded his vehicle. And his defense was that this guy is begging me to take them. Like the passengers literally said that we would rather have been in an overloaded vehicle than be left stranded on the road, by the side of the road. And you can say this guy has been given this option, and there was this whole thing about it, but in the end he was let go of. There was this other case of these two guys who killed a boy. They were stuck somewhere and they killed a boy. And they ate him, right? Of course, they were charged for murder, but after 6 months, they were let go because of the extremity of the situation. It was necessary, was it unfortunate? Absolutely. It's not the most ideal situation where you have to eat a person. And with that, we'll move to compulsion. This is where now the accused is compelled by another person to commit an offense. Okay, it consists of threats of bodily harm, like I'm going to hurt you so bad right now if you don't do this, or killing if the person refuses. The threats are applied while the offense is being done. Like as Mr. Manyara said, I have to have a gun to your head. I have a gun to your head. If you don't do this, I'm gonna pull this trigger and you're done for, right? So it's strictly limited to the threat is here and now. Si ati unapigiwa simu ati you're texted if you don't do this, I'm gonna come to your house tomorrow and I'm gonna kill you and your whole family. Okay? It has to be there now. It has to be, you're seated here. If you don't do this right now, I have a gun in my pocket. I'm gonna pull it out and I'm going to shoot you in that skull of yours. You're going to die. Okay. So, of course, compulsion doesn't constitute of being scared of displeasing someone. Like, actually, if I don't do this, it's gonna make sense so sad. That doesn't count. It doesn't make them sad. Until you don't rub this back, you're gonna make your wife sad. Make her sad. You're gonna find another way of getting money. And yeah, so basically we've seen that it constitutes of threats of instant death or previous bodily harm. And threats are administered there and then while the crime is being committed. Like, it's instant, it's in the moment, it's not a tip. If you don't do this, I'm gonna come tomorrow. So yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, we've seen that it doesn't constitute of threats of future bodily harm or displeasing the other person. So compulsion can also constitute of marital coercion, which is provided for in section 19 of the Penal Code. It creates a defense for a married woman who's been forced by her husband to commit a crime, right? There is also compulsion of administration of oaths, which by the way is against the law. You can't force someone to get into a contract, as provided for in section 62 and 63 of the Penal Code. If you do that and you're caught, 10 years, no more 10 years. And it's unlawful to compel someone to get into a contract. And this person, if they're able, they need to prove that there is compulsion. Again, the burden of proof falls on them, right? So for them to prove that there was compulsion, there needs to have been a report made of this compulsion within 5 days of it occurring. Okay, so it can only be a defense if it was reported within 5 days. You can't show up after 2 years and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I did perform my end of this deal because I was compelled to get into this contract. Then they're like, can you show you are compelled? Yeah, they see this, they did this, they do report, this people. Yeah. So it can also be used as a mitigating factor, and we're going to use the case of the Republic versus Madaji, right? He was compelled by the passengers. So it was either he needed to do what the passengers want. It was either he does what the passengers want and break the law or not do what they wanted. So, of course, that was considered in coming up with his sentence in deciding the case. And that's it on compulsion and necessity.
Okay, thank you, Darlene, for that really informative section. And with that, we have come to the end of the episode, and we hope to see you in the next one.